Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, folks, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest show on earth when it comes to uncovering the Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order, all its tentacles, going back hundreds of years. Greg Anthony here. Today we're going to discuss why Pope Francis has put all these communists and Marxists at the top of the Vatican Empire and other places. It's interesting because I always draw the conclusion that behind all of this talk in America now and what's happening in Venezuela is all Jesuit inspired. They were the creators of socialism, which leads to communism with their Paraguay experiments in the 16th century. And who better than to instruct, 29-year-old Alessandro Ocasio-Cortez with this new Green Deal than her Jesuit buddies. Now, the connection, you can't just say right off the bat that she is Jesuit-inspired, but it's the same principles that run that order, the same principles that started socialism back when the Paraguay experiments and led to communist Russia, etc. And now she wants to bring it to America, but says it's not like Venezuela. It's going to be more Americanized socialism or what they do in Norway or Sweden, and that's a bunch of garbage. Because what they really want to do is take everything from you and divvy it up amongst themselves, and the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. You don't have to look any farther than Venezuela. And there's a good Vatican Jesuit connection to Venezuela, and you got to listen to it in this show. But anyway, it's interesting that she's from Boston University, which is not technically a Jesuit school, but Boston College is nearby, which is. And the first supporter in the Senate was Senator Markey from Boston College and Boston College Law School, a Jesuit institution. He's been around since the 70s in Congress, now in the Senate. And boy, wasn't it interesting that he came to her rescue. And I bet you if you look and you get all these people talking behind the scenes, you're going to find a Jesuit somewhere. And so these people are going to go to the people who know how to run this stuff. But anyway, let's look first at there's an article in the American Spectator that appeared, which is interesting, by George Newmayer. And he was making the connection between why is the Pope putting in all these communists? And why is he putting in a known Marxist and socialist as the Jesuit general? Right? Why is the Jesuit general Arturo Sosa now in 2016 from Venezuela? But the article goes on to say that understanding the adage that personnel is policy, Pope Francis has been planting Marxists throughout the church, including at the top of the troubled religious order to which he belongs. Now, for those of you who don't think that the Vatican has any influence on our domestic, foreign, or domestic policy, then this article's not going to mean anything. But when you understand the enormous power that this organization has, even its head being the head Satanist of all of them, then you'll really, really understand what's going on. But in 2016, the Jesuits, with the blessing of Pope Francis, who's also a Jesuit, installs as its Jesuit superior a Venezuelan. Isn't it interesting? Think about what's going on in Venezuela now. Father Arturo Sosa Abascal, whose communist convictions have long been known. Now, I don't know, he'll probably come out and say he doesn't like what's going on in Venezuela, but let's look at his past. Sosa has written about the Marxist mediation of the Christian faith, arguing that the church should, quote, understand the existence of Christians who simultaneously call themselves Marxists, and commit themselves to the transformation of the capitalist society into a socialist society. What is he saying? I think he's saying that he prefers socialism over capitalism, right? In 1989, he signed a letter praising Fidel Castro. Now, turn down any corridor in Francis's Vatican, and you're likely to run into a de facto communist. Francis is a communist running his order, a communist running his council of cardinals, the Honduran Cardinal Oscar Rodriguez Maradiaga, a communist running the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, Margaret Archer, a British sociologist who has said that she represents the Marxian left, and communists such as the renegade Brazilian liberation theologian Leonardo Boff and the Canadian socialist Naomi Klein, drafting these encyclicals that he writes or reads. It is no coincidence that the only U.S. presidential candidate, now we're going back to 2016 here, who made a visit to the Vatican during the campaign was socialist too. Bernie Sanders. You know, he honeymooned in the Soviet Union. Bernie Sanders turned up at the Vatican in April of 2016, having received an invitation from Pope Francis' close Argentinian friend, Bishop Marcelo Sanchez Sorando. Now, Bernie's running again for president, right? And he's even more socialist this time. I mean, he's really going overboard. And you know he's going to get the Vatican blessings, although in the public eye, the Vatican will say they support a republic or a democratic system. They don't. Now, we invited the candidate who cites the Pope most in the campaign, and that is Senator Bernie Sanders, explained Sorando, that's the Argentinian friend of the Pope, who added that Sanders' agenda is very like that of the Pope. So here we go. Who does the Pope support? The globalists in America? Of course. Why is he letting all those migrants in Europe? For the same reason. Not only do they benefit financially, but he wants to see a completely Latinized America. Now, I love the Latin people. Nothing against them. But I don't want to live under a socialist system. And I'm afraid that a lot of these people who will come here, not content to live in their own country because of corruption there, will do anything that these people say. Now, in this smug left and feel grateful to be here. And I don't think it was any different 2 or 3 generations ago when many European people came to this country for the same reason. But there was nobody pushing socialism back then. And it was a free market system allowing people to benefit from their own labors. And that's not what goes on in socialism, because everybody benefits from your labor, and in a sense, the elite benefit the most. Not the kind of system I like. Now, in that smug leftist atmosphere in Rome, Sosa's elevation to the head of the Jesuits, this guy who is a communist socialist, look at what his country's turned out to be. He's the head of the Jesuits. This was inevitable. In the past, the Jesuits had been called the Pope's Marines, the Pope's Army. There still are. Oh boy, the flu has been going around, hasn't it? Under Sosa, they are more like the Pope's Marxists, peddling his climate change propaganda as a pretext for global socialism. Right. Just like Cortez says, oh, in 12 years the world's going to end because of climate change, and you're worried about the economy? Let us worry about that. We'll protect you. Don't believe him. Because, climate change now it's synonymous for what? What? Global warming, which doesn't seem to be working, so they change it? Yeah. Let's say, folks, climate does change. Every year it changes a little. But it isn't people at the forefront that change it the most, unless they do weather manipulation, and then people do it. And usually weather manipulation is done for a bad reason. But Sosa's ambitions, like Francis, go way beyond meddling in economies. He is also pushing a moral revolution in the Catholic Church, evident in his astonishing claim that since none of the apostles tape-recorded Jesus Christ, his words on adultery can be elastically reinterpreted. Okay? And he said this. Sosa, this is the guy in Venezuela, right, who's the head of the Jesuit order. You need to start by reflecting on what exactly Jesus said. Now, Sosa told this to an Italian interviewer in February. At that time, no one had a tape recorder to capture the words. What we know is that the words of Jesus, this is Sosa speaking, have to be contextualized. They're expressed in a certain language, in a precise environment, and they're addressed to someone specific. And in other words, Sosa is confident that he understands Jesus' meaning better than the gospel writers like Francis. And like Francis, Sosa can't resist the mumbo-jumbo of the modernist biblical scholarship, which always manages to dovetail conveniently with liberal views. Now, you remember the Council of Trent explicitly condemned the claim that the gospel writers were just making stuff up when recounting the words of Christ. But Sosa has no problem trafficking in that heresy. Right, so the Council of Trent even sided with the gospel writers, right? But Sosa then says, oh, no. We have to look between the lines in what Jesus said. And he said this, Sosa, quote, over the last century in the church, there has been a great blossoming of studies that seek to understand exactly what Jesus meant to say. The presumption here is extraordinary, but typical of the Jesuits, typical of Francis and a Francis acolyte. The new orthodoxy is really heterodoxy, and Sosa is wallowing in it. He is given to little sermons on relativism, such as this whopper. Let's listen to this. The church has developed over the centuries, says Sosa. It's not a piece of reinforced concrete. It was born, it has learned, it has changed. This is why the ecumenical councils are held, to try to bring developments of doctrine into focus. Doctrine is a word that I don't like very much, says Sosa. It brings with it the image of hardness of stone. Instead, the human reality is much more nuanced. It is never black and white. It is a continual development. Well, Father Spadora, another Jesuit close to Francis, tweeted out earlier this year that the theology is not mathematics 2 plus 2. Theology can make 5 because it has to do with God and real life and people. Godsmacked by the relentless leftism of Francis and his aides, Al Gore asked in 2015, is the Pope Catholic? The question is really not a joke. And even Gore had mentioned something. But anyway, I'm just looking at who Francis surrounds himself with. And really, what is going on with Venezuela? We're looking at it right now, and it's, the Jesuits have a hand in what's ever going on there. Okay, folks, what I'm going to do today, and I put this as a backup here, I was going to go into the depth about a certain few things I found out about the Jesuits and what's going on with even installing certain congresswomen who are really radical Muslims. And another question I wanted to deal with is, why are we allowing radical Islam to blossom in this country? And this is another front. So we're being attacked in many different ways. And go to my shows on the roots of Islam, and you'll find some really interesting connections between the Book of Muhammad, the Quran, and the Catholic traditions. But because my voice is failing and I've got a case of the flu and I don't think I can make it through an hour here, I've got a backup here I wanted to do in case of a situation like this, so bear with me. It's pretty good. Let me explain. This gentleman I've listened to before. He has a German accent. I'm not sure if he's from Germany, but he's from a country near there. He calls himself Joggler66. He really enjoyed the book Rulers of Evil by Tupper Saucy, a gentleman that I knew, interviewed on my show, and gave a forum to. And he read it word for word and on his emails, and understands the really importance of really understanding the enemy, the Vatican-led New World Order. So I wanted to, he put together a video called The Jesuit Conspiracy, Nazi Socialism and Catholic Restoration. If you haven't seen it, I'm looking at it right now. It's only got 23 views on it. Is there some kind of censorship going on with this stuff? You know, I did a little look at something. There's 2 or 3 people that really are known for their anti-Jesuit talk. This guy, I believe, is one in Europe. And if he takes the same subject as another person that kind of changes it a little maybe, or whitewashes, or has a different form, they get 1 million hits, he gets 50. I've had it happen to me a number of times. And I'm not saying that I'm a great marketeer. But if I do the same story that someone else does, and they're maybe not as, I don't know how to put it, maybe the way it's done settles the algorithms of the great censorship we have in this country. And there's no greater censorship than goes on in these big companies like Google, Amazon, etc. Because they are basically publishers, but they're not held to the same standards as a newspaper or a radio station. But really, they're pushing more ideas than even the newspapers today. So there has to be a look at this, because the First Amendment is gone with these huge companies, and they can control anything. For example, even if they want to control conservative thought, they can do it. It's been documented. Even if they don't like what somebody says on the liberal point of view, they can get rid of that. They surely don't want to talk about the Jesuits and give that a forum. So basically, because most people do their searching now on the internet, they should be in the same category and regulated with the same First Amendment rights as newspapers. So what I mean is they should be sued and held accountable for censorship and not adhering to the First Amendment. It's an interesting subject. But anyway, let me start with this. I only have about 5 minutes, 7 minutes on this side, then we'll continue next side. If you don't get it here, go to Joggler66. That's Joggler 66. And he puts some good stuff out. Here we go.
6 Hour of the Truth. This one is called Nazi Socialism and Catholic Restoration. The continuance after the last video, the greatest Trojan horse of them all, which was chapter 7. We are now already in chapter 8 of the book Behind the Dictators by Leo Herbert Lehman from 1942. I remind you because 1942 is quite some time ago, but when I read through this book, I see so much resemblance to the days of today, 2016. It's just incredible when you have eyes to see and ears to hear. So this one's called Nazi Socialism and Catholic Restoration. So let's get the job done and read a little bit in this wonderful book from Herbert Leo Lehman. I always forget his last name. Catholic action instituted by Antichrist Pope Pius XI is an generic term for Catholic reform and reconstruction. The restoration of Catholicism to the position of authority which it held over the nations before the Reformation. And I already have to go into a little comment after the first sentence. This is, in other words, the time before the Reformation, as it's called. This is, in other words, the New World Order, explained as the restoration of the Old World Order, as I have been telling people since long already. There is no New World Order, there's only the restoration of the Old World Order, with the Pope reigning sovereign over the kings of the earth. And this is exactly what we see today. The Antichrist using the apostate Protestant countries, United States of America at the top, to restore his quote-unquote glory from before the Protestant Reformation. It has a twofold object: the purge of liberal elements within the Church itself, and the complete destruction of Protestantism and its liberalizing effects in those countries which threw off the yoke of the papacy in the past. Catholic action was brought into being coincidentally with the rise of Nazi fascism, and was later consolidated by the Lateran Pact with Mussolini in 1929, and by the concorded Nazi Socialism in 1933. It gained its objectives to a larger extent in Europe through the military might and fifth column methods of its Nazi fascist partner. It can be safely said, continues the author, that Nazi fascism and Jesuitism, the two greatest reactionary forces in the world today, 1942 remind you, are but two facets of the same unity, one civil and the other ecclesiastical. Now, remember the quote that I read earlier to you from the Italian fascist leader Benito Mussolini? From among others in chapter 6 it was quoted in this book? Quote, "Fascism should more appropriately be called corporatism, because it is the merger of corporate and state power, and not to forget, the state and the church work together as one power." So you have actually three things under one roof: corporatism, the church, and the state. For an authoritarian civil state cannot function properly without the help of an authoritarian ecclesiastical system. It is nonetheless true, though not sufficiently recognized, that a free electoral state is impossible without the spiritual support and nourishment of a free church. Free of what? Free of the laws of God. That's what the Roman Catholic Church is always aiming to. Nazi fascism's anti-Semitic ideology, its anti-Masonic and anti-democratic activities, its propaganda methods, the hierarchical structure of its organization, and even its war program were copied from the Jesuit order. Remember the quote from Sigilta Catholica, that fascism is the political direction, comes closest to the Roman Catholic Church's idea. The Crusades of the Middle Ages also began with persecution of the Jews and were preceded by a purging within the Church itself. Likewise, a brutal cleansing within Catholicism preceded the wars of religion instigated by the Jesuits in the 16th and 17th centuries. Its object was to rid Catholicism of the heretical Protestant influences which had arisen within the Church's organization before and after Martin Luther's time. It is in the light of these events that Nazi socialism's fight with all the churches in Germany must be regarded. On the one hand, it was an attempted purge of recalcitrant elements within the Roman Catholic Church, which had been infected with liberal and Protestant ideas during the post-war years in Germany under the Weimar Republic. On the other hand, it was a fight against Protestantism and its liberal institutions, which had been afforded still greater scope for development after the fall of the monarchy in 1918. The fight was carried out in both instances according to the traditional methods of the Jesuit strategy. Now, what is this Jesuit strategy that the author is mentioning here? I'm going to explain that to you directly. As we know from the Jesuit oath of induction, where it states, quote, "To take sides with the combatants and to act secretly with your brother Jesuit, who might be engaged on the other side, but openly opposed to that which you might be connected,
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, we're back, folks. Greg Anthony here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay tuned. You're going to love this half hour because it's all just personal stuff sometimes. You know, we very rarely think of these huge problems that we talk about from a point of view of our own personal life, where we come from, who we are. Unlike Elizabeth Warren, we always know, when we hear that name, we go, Pocahontas. You know, if you follow politics in America, she's running for president of the Democratic Party. She claims to be like 1/100th% Indian. That's how she got into Harvard. You know, this person is so goofy. I wouldn't let her into my, into my house to have dinner. If she came with somebody, I'd say, boy, I'm not having fun with this person. Doesn't even know who she is. Come on. The point I'm trying to make is it's so crazy when you listen to these people. They're all bought and paid for by the Jesuit order. Whether it's, when you hear that, you go, who are these Jesuits? And I say to myself, it's not a question, do you know who owns Bank of America? They just bought, you're not going to hear the term Merrill Lynch anymore. Now, Merrill Lynch has about, if you look up their legal name, it has about, 60, 70 names on its incorporation papers and everything. But it's down to Merrill Lynch now. That it went to Merrill. Now it's Bank of America. Bank of America started from the Bank of San Francisco, a Vatican Jesuit institution. Now, and they own God knows how much in this country. So when I say Jesuit, don't hold me to the term just these priests at Borgo Santo Spirito Cinque in Rome. This is not the way they operate. But to get down to the real nitty-gritty of this, and I wanted to change the subject from the first half hour. And I said I was in Tijuana Beach. They call it Playas de Tijuana. And I took an interest in this border wall issue. And they only show you on the news the border and where Tijuana is when it hits the ocean. They don't start moving up the coast and show you some of the rich haciendas, some of the things, the houses there that are going up that make, if you look at them, and I visited one just the other day and spent an afternoon there because it gave me a view of the border wall from a perspective that many people don't see it. And the perspective was this. It was a beautiful hacienda of beautiful people talking, about the situation of America and Mexico. And it's amazing. They believe exactly what you would want to hear. I mean, they don't like drugs. They don't want this to happen. In fact, I was sitting in this view and I saw the Trump wall. That corrugated wall. It's a fence with slats on the, there, and it's brown. It's ugly. Really, they shouldn't have made it that color. I would have made it bright red, white, and blue when you see it. It's terrible. But it's better than the Bush wall that's about 200 yards past there. There's another wall. That's the Bush wall. And that's concrete. And then after that, there's a Clinton or there's a fence. So and then there's lights on that side of the border. And I was looking at this and I'm going, holy shit. These poor, and these people that live on this side of the border right there got to put up with that? I mean, when I looked out and saw it, I was appalled. Because these people are really just very good people, and there's no way they can stop America from building that. And I was thinking about it, and I said, even if we built the Great Wall to China all over the place, it would never stop because America is involved in bringing the drugs over anyway. America is involved in bringing the trafficking over anyway. This is just a deterrent. This is like something crazy. And then I was talking to somebody at that little house, the big hacienda I was at, and he said, yeah, and after the Clinton wall, there's a moat of alligators, And so I think you get my point. I'm looking at it from the perspective of this man who has a multi-million-dollar house right on the other side of that fence and has to look at it every day. It's not right. And I think America, you got to think about this. And all I'm neither a Trump nor a globalist supporter because if you think about it, you have to have a little bit of both to make the world go round, right? But the idea to put this up there, to think that people in that area are going to come through there, is crazy. That was wasted money. And these people should have had a say in their own view. I would have. Can you imagine if this happened in a ritzy place in Simi Valley or Thousand Oaks with these people that have this kind of gated communities, and all of a sudden somebody starts building an obtrusive looking fence? changing their view of the world, oh boy, there'd be lawsuits going out the ass. But I think the real point I'm trying to make here is that this whole idea of a border wall has really divided America into two camps. One, keep out immigrants. Two, let them in. That's not the way I look at it. It's done that, but there's much more to this. And I think the Congress has never dealt with this issue because of special interest groups that want people. Look, we are connected with this country called Mexico. We're connected with South America, Latin America. We're connected. Let's make it a better continent. But we can't do it through globalism, folks. We can do it through sovereignty of each country, respecting each other's integrity, our view. America, did you respect that man who owns that multi-million-dollar hacienda when you were building that wall? No. It's terrible. And I think you see my point. There's really no simple answer to it. But you can't divide a country this way through a wall, and that's what I object to. Now, I object to Democrats. I mean, they're as crazy as loons now. And I object to, this idea that a border wall is so important. It's not. It's not going to stop anything, really. And all I saw when I was up in that hacienda was just a real, God, it was ugly, brown. It looked like, it reminded me of, it reminded me of, the way what would happen in Poland or something. I'm Polish. And, people don't really understand anything about Poland. I mean, the first thing you're going to hear is a Polish joke here or there, and that's all you... Poland isn't even a country compared to, Norway, Sweden, nobody thinks of Poland. And the reason is that it was really a country in the middle of a quagmire with the Jesuits and the Nazis and all that crap they had to do in Europe. But nobody even knows anything about it. But my point was, 2 generations ago, when my grandfather came here, and I'm completely Polish. I mean, my mother, my father, everybody. I don't have I got one Irish uncle not even from our side, either side of the family, but it's all Polish. So, I got a vested interest in that country. And no one cares. No one even thinks about it. So when I hear all these people crying now, the left wing crying, oh, I want this minority, I want LGBT, I say, go to hell. I really do. I mean, because I say, do you really understand what people endured to get here? And why we're here? And I'm no different than a Latino. I'm no different than a black. I'm no different than anybody. But they want to make it out to because my skin's white. Now let me give you an idea. How many people you think live in Poland now? I bet you won't know. I think it's about half of who lives in Mexico. It's about 38 million people. That's 2018 statistics. And did you know how many Jews live in Poland? Now, did you know I'm half Jewish? My mother was Jewish. My father was born into a Catholic family. 1/5 of the Polish population perished in World War II. Does anybody talk about it? No. But I am a white supremacist to these people, like the Antifa group and the Black Lives Matter, Farrakhan, Omar in the Congress now, little Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, yeah, I'm just a white, I want to, she doesn't even have half. Not even understands. How many people in your family were killed by Hitler, Miss Cortez? 1/5 of my people's population perished. I'm lucky to be here. I guess I was 4 of the 5, right? Half of them were, 3 million Jews, Polish Jews murdered, when the American government knew about it. So should I get reparations? They're talking in Congress now to give black people reparations for slavery. That's, these people are idiots. Can't do that. The 3 million Polish Jews were murdered. The Holocaust constituting 90% of Polish Jewry. Yeah, there's only 50,000 Jews living in Poland now. Although the Holocaust occurred largely in German-occupied Poland, there was little collaboration with the Nazis by its citizens. Did you ever wonder what percentage of Poland is white? Yeah, it's 96% white. The other 4 are Belarusians and Ukrainians. It's a great, how many Polish are there in the world? There's estimates about 60 million. So there's about 60 million of my people around. It's a lot less than Latinos. Roughly 21 million live outside of Poland. And a lot of them live in America, right? Not all. We can go through 400. The biggest population is New York, then Chicago, or New York, then Illinois. I'm not going to go through that. But how many Jews do you think were left in Poland after the war? Well, there were about 3 million. It was a very eclectic, very rich population. About 90% were killed. Do the math. Half my family was killed. Am I crying for reparations? No. Some of my family came here and gave me a life. The last thing I want to do is ask for money. Like these, you got presidential candidates wanting, this is the most ridiculous election I'm ever going to see in my life. Do you really even know what happened to Poland after World War II? You don't want to know. Nobody cares. Hey, you're just a white boy in America, right? Your ethnic group doesn't matter, right? Tell me about it. And there's stories like that coming from all over the world, whether you're from Ireland, whether you're from, Somalia. Let's get with it, people. We're all in this country for one reason. That is to make it a better place for all of us. Not this crap dividing us. And both the Democrats and the Republicans do that together. So get with it. This is a Jesuit plot. They know how to play the Hegelian dialectic. And if we don't work together, whether you're from Somalia or from Poland or Italy, we're all going to go down the drain just like this country is right now. And the only way to stop it is to understand each other. To understand, you probably don't even know what a Slavic person is, you black people. I know more about you than you know about me, but present-day Slavic people are classified into East Slavs. Where are they from? Belarusians, Russians, Ukrainians. Then there's West Slavic people, which are chiefly Czechs, Moravians, Poles, Slavics, Serbs. That's me. Hey, do you want to know? No. You want to lump me into this category of being white. And I know, there's a lot of great people out there who understand this, but I'm just talking the way it should be talked, and that is to the average people in the world who really are getting a bad dose of everything these days. They shouldn't have to put up with a political organization, the political group. They shouldn't have to put up with Fox News. They shouldn't have to put up with CNN. They shouldn't have to put up with any of this stuff. There's too much to live for than to listen to their garbage, but we don't have a choice. The only choice you got is to turn it off, and maybe that's the best way to do it. But we're kind of a species that is kind of nosy, aren't we? We're nosy people. We want to get involved, and what we're getting involved in sometimes leads us astray. And we can't be isolated in the woods, living alone. But yet we can't live together. So where the hell do you go? I suggest that you read a good book. Relax and watch the clouds go by. Or, make yourself useful. Usefulness is a great solution, Just doing something that makes you happy. That's in the Constitution, right? Despite all of these problems that seem to be coming to us from left and right, but aren't they creating these for us? I mean, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to clean the slate tonight. Tomorrow starts a whole new world. There are no problems, only the ones I bring. Man, wouldn't that be fun? You might even kiss your wife in the morning. You might even hug your dog. You might even go out for a walk. You might even smell the roses. You might even do something that would make you happy, instead of waking up with a chip on your shoulder. And God knows I've done it many times. But in this quest to kind of look at this world from a kind of a happy point of view, I mean, it's not a bad place to be for 70, 80 years, right? I mean, where else you got to go? Got to be somewhere, right? It's just that somewhere always seems to be not good enough, right? But what different are you than the guy that lives in the Eiffel Tower, in a mansion, or a guy that lives on the street? There's a difference. What is it? It's not that much. You could be in either place. And the real difference is you control your own fate. Think about that. And the world will be a better place tomorrow. Now, with 4 minutes to go, how many people, I love this question, how many people got jobs last month in America? This is government statistics. They said 20,000. The quarter, this is, was it monthly? They do it monthly. The month before that, it was 380,000. How do we, I've never relied on these, where do they get these statistics from? How do they figure them out? Is that how closely the American people are watched? Do you really like those statistics? I'd say get the hell out of here. The government shouldn't know how many people are working. The only reason they're keeping track is to keep track on you so they can make more money. I hate that statistic. How many people got jobs? How many people don't have jobs? Who the hell? I would say the best way to do it is the way the Italians. When I lived in Italy, here's what 70% of their income wasn't even accounted for. And they were a lot happier. But, you know, that's America. Everything's got to be documented, right? Just like the Roman Empire. Tell them everything about you. Then put it on Facebook. Let everybody know everything so they can track you, do what the hell they want with you. I'd rather stay a little bit anonymous, you know. If I get a job next month, I ain't telling anybody. Nobody. If I don't get a job, I ain't telling anybody. So, wouldn't it be better if everybody just cared about their family and everybody and forget about the world? You know why? Because it would be really nice. If you cared, I cared, everybody cared, the world would get along a lot better. Because I'll tell you, the happiest time in my life was the first couple months I lived in Italy when I couldn't understand anybody. I didn't get into any problems. It was a beautiful place. I got to look at the statues. I got to look at the monuments. I got to smell the roses. Got to understand that there's more to life than just the constant arguing and this and that and that. Wears you down. So, I don't like those job reports. Don't tell them if you get a job. Who cares? Get a job, make money, don't let them know. It's better off. The less they know, the better. Let me tell you. The less the man knows, the better you are. Don't complain if you don't get a job. Then they use that too. I'm not complaining. I'll be back tomorrow on the Investigative I was going to say it in another language. Investigative Journal. Get it out, Greg. Bye.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.